Hey there, Prairie Plant Girl here. This morning I'm going to be putting together some beautiful hanging baskets with flowers I grew myself. So I'm going to be using these beautiful double blue petunias. I grew these from seed, started them months ago, and I've been growing them in my house and then out in my greenhouse, and they're more than ready to get planted out. They're just beautiful. And then I have some lobelia. Now this is supposed to be white lady lobelia. I also grew this from seed. There's always seems to be a little bit of blue that pops up in it. Not sure why that is. It's a trailing lobelia. And the two of these together will be just beautiful. And then I do have one plant that I've purchased, and that's verbena. So it's just a white verbena. It'll go in just to give a little extra pop, a little different texture of the leaves, different flower. I'm going to be planting in this kind of funky hanging basket here. It has little kind of gates in the sides. You can see I have one out right here. So they open up so you can put your plants in the sides, and then there's a little piece that goes on and we'll close it in to hold the plant and the soil in. And that just makes it a little extra full a little sooner than if you have a basket that you just plant on top and wait for things to trail down. You could easily do this combination in just a regular hanging basket or even a pot and have the plants just overflow. You'll just want less plants doing that. This does use a lot of plants. I'll see if I can find, last year I'd found these, what appears to be the same planter, a very similar style. This is not where I got it, but on Amazon. So I'll put a link in the description down below the video. Just push click more or something on the video description and you can find the link. If I can find it, I'll put it down there for you. The first thing I need to do is just take all these little gates out, and then we'll get started. So you might be able to see on the fence behind me, I have 3 of these baskets. I did 2 up yesterday. And they're not looking quite stunning yet, but it takes a couple days for the plants to settle in. And then once they do, they'll kind of grow up the sides from these spaces here and grow down over the edges and really fill in and just have a whole ball of color. So now that I have the last gate out, we can clear the plants off the table and get started with filling this basket. It's kind of crazy right now. I'm also going to take one of these chain links and just lift it out so I can put the chain off to the side out of my way. So when you're filling a basket like this, you're going to have to add the soil in layers. So I just have some potting mix here. I'm just going to dump it in the bottom of my pot. And I like to add just a little bit of fertilizer to each layer because the roots are going to be down in each of these layers. It's just a slow release fertilizer. I've never used this product before. So then I'm just going to grab these beautiful petunias, and I'm going to be putting a row of petunias around in the bottom layer. So I'll need 4 petunias for the bottom row. So there's petunia number 1, and it just slides in from the outside. And you can just pop that little gate on, and I'll do all the rest, and then I'll fill in with more soil. So next is these lobelia, and I have 8 holes in the side in the next layer here, and I'm going to put lobelia in all of them. And again, I've just added soil and a little bit of the slow release fertilizer in. These plants have all been hardened off. They've been outside. These plants can all take quite a bit of cold, except maybe the verbena. So the lobelia and the petunias have been outside since last month, even when we've been getting frost warnings and very cold weather. Now sometimes if you're especially growing your lobelia from seed, you'll get some that's like these have, I don't know if you can see, they have at least 2 plants in each of these plugs. But sometimes I'll come across one that just has one spindly little plant. So this still has two in it. So if I just have one in a plug, then I will just put 2 plugs in a hole, find another small one, and then they're nice and full, because you want your lobelia nice and full. More soil. On the top of these, I'm going to be putting in 3 petunias. And 1 of the verbena. This petunia has a little splotch of white in its center. The rest don't have that. That's part of the fun growing from seeds. Sometimes you'll get something a little bit different. So the verbena is going to go right in the middle, and it looks small now, but these will fill in around the whole top of this pot and just kind of work its way around the petunias and give a little bit of height as well that the petunias won't give, and that's why I like to use that verbena. It'll give a height in proportion to this pot, you know, around 12 inches, 30 centimeters or so. And then I'm just going to be putting the petunias kind of evenly spaced around the edge, but I want that one looked a little close to the edge. I don't want them right up against the edge, because they will come out and grow over, and if you put in your hanging baskets your plants too close to the edge, your centers can get kind of empty looking. So make sure you plant them back. They'll grow and fill over and spill over the edges. If you plant them too far back, then you just wind up with kind of a bald spot in the middle. So there, now I just need to untangle my chains. Pop that back in. And then I can water this really well and hang it up. So I just grabbed some water for my watering barrel, my rain barrel. And I just want to make sure I water these in really, really well before I get them hung up. Soil I used wasn't wet. I prefer to work with drier soil when I'm planting pots and containers up. I'm going to make sure these are watered in really well, and then I'll check, because the soil is probably going to sink around plants a little bit, and I can go in and just add a little more anywhere where it's needed. And I like to give the initial watering, I like to water until I see some water coming out the sides, but I want to water really nice and slow and let it really soak into the bottom. So I know it's been thoroughly saturated, and they have a really nice wet root ball in there. Now, I won't normally keep all of these plants really, really wet like this, but I find it helps them really settle in well, get them nice and wet to start. These plants all like moisture. They'll transition better into the container, I find, than their little pots. And sometimes their root balls, when they've gotten to this size in the little seedling packs they're kind of drier and they need a good drink anyways. Now, I put the slow release fertilizer in these pots. Petunias are very heavy feeders, and I will still be giving them a liquid feed every week with just whatever liquid fertilizer I have. I usually look for something that says Bloom on it. That's what they'll be getting fertilized with when I go in to fertilize. And they'll go on a drip system that runs along my fence. I don't have it turned on yet, but when I do, they'll just be getting their water through that. And if I see that they're looking a little dry, if we've had a little extra wind or a little extra heat, then I can always go in and give them a little bit more with the watering can or turn on the drip system for a little bit longer. But that's how I take care of them, is lots of fertilizer and a good consistent watering through the season. Now, petunias sometimes can get pretty leggy in their growth, and even lobelia once in a while will get a little bit just not as pretty looking as after a few 2 or 3 months of growth. So you can just go in with scissors or pruners or whatever you have and just cut them back by about 1/3. Sometimes I even go right back to 1/2, and that won't hurt the plants, but it'll help them to bush out and just clean up and look nicer for the rest of the season for you. And sometimes I go in and I do that a couple of times a year. So it just depends on how fast your plants are growing, how well they're growing, and what kind of look you want out of them. Another thing with hanging baskets, like I planted this on all sides and it's gonna be hanging on a fence. So I take it every week or two and I will just take it off its hanger and just turn it 180 and hang it back up again so that it's getting light on all of the plants. Otherwise the back plants are going to start to look really shaggy and ratty and might even die off on you. But that's what I do to make a hanging basket. Like I said, they're going to look a little bit rough for, a few days to a week while they settle into their new home. And then these plants down here are going to start to come up. They're going to grow up to the light a little bit. They'll also grow down. The petunias and the lobelia will start to intermingle. These guys will start to go down over the sides, and the verbena will just fill in the top and give kind of that white cloud accent in with the petunias. So hopefully this gave you some inspiration for what to do to maybe grow some hanging baskets. If you were going to do this with just a regular planter and you didn't have, this one with the sides in it, or like a cocoa coir or something where you could poke some holes in the side, you could always just come in and put 3 of the lobelia in between the petunias, and I would probably put them out to the side a little bit just so the petunias don't overpower them right away, and then you'll get a similar effect. It'll just take longer to fill in the sides than these containers are going to take. That's what I've done with my seed-grown petunias and lobelia. Let me know down below, do you do hanging baskets? What kind of planting do you do? And have you gotten started? Or maybe you're done already. Put it down in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.